At the count of three, I want all of us to say the most famous movie quote from 1997. You ready?
No, I'm nervous.
3, 2, 1, go. How do you
I'm the
like
king
them
of the world!
apples?
I ruined this, and I'm sorry. The pressure was too much.
We're talking about the best movies of 1997. We're not talking about Con Air. We're not talking about Austin Powers. We're not talking about Copland. Three very good movies that did not make our list. Well, let me take that back, because Austin Powers, I wouldn't say it's a good movie, but it's a fun movie.
I think it was a great movie in 1997, and the years following. If we went back, no, probably not.
I watched it again recently, and that has been spoofed so many times. Like, it was fresh back then, and now it's like, man, I've seen the same jokes.
Number 10, we have David Fincher's The Game with Michael Douglas and Sean Penn.
I think what I love about The Game is that it's not Fight Club. You know, Fight Club's a great movie, but everyone loves Fight Club. And of course, Zodiac will always be Fincher's best. But The Game, I mean, it needs to be talked about more. It's so simple. It's a simple thriller that's fun, has some great performances. And that twist is just so, like, everyone talks about insane twists. But this one, to me, is the ballsiest, most insane twist. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm on board. I love it. It's still so kind of unknown that it really is worth, like, going back, watching it and being like, whoa, that is just insane.
Zach, we're putting it to you. We have established that you are the worst pitch man in history of movies. Sell the movie Titanic to people who have never seen it before.
Who hasn't seen Titanic? On top of that, you cannot have a list from the year 1997 without this movie. I don't know why I'm defending a movie that has 15 Oscars in the biggest movie of all time for a long time. Sure, it's 3 hours long. It's way too long. And then the first 45 minutes and the last 45 minutes are garbage. But that middle 45 minutes is wonderful because the garbage builds up to this, like, amazingly crafted disaster scene. The amazingly crafted disaster scene turns into more garbage with, like, very melodramatic old women and a piece of jewelry that it just doesn't matter. Like the movie's over. The movie's over once Leo goes underneath the water and dies, and it just keeps going. Anyways, great movie.
Number 8, we have LA Confidential. Probably one of the best crime movies of the 90s for sure.
LA Confidential should have won the 11 Oscars instead of Titanic, but whatever. What are you going to do?
They just saw The Big Boat in the 3 hours, and I think people were like, it's got to be pretty good. I can't watch this 3-hour movie. I'm just going to give it to it. It's got 2 VHS tapes. I can't. That's just too much time for me.
I can't rewind all of that every time.
And I got to return it to Blockbuster tomorrow.
Not cool, dude. Number 7, we have a very cool movie, and that is Men in Black. Not only is it one of the best 90s action movies, but it's also the ugliest and grossest, but also the coolest. And Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones,
they're so good together.
Tommy Lee Jones, the dude that just phones it in any action movie, is like, I'm going to actually try on this action movie.
Yeah. A great sci-fi film. It's a great buddy cop movie. But, man, I can't, like, the Vincent D'Onofrio skin thing still gives me the heebie-jeebies.
His whole performance is awful. Like, in a good way. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Did you guys drink sugar water after you saw the movie?
Because yes, I did, actually.
Yeah.
I did as well.
I definitely did.
All right.
That's all I need to know. Some sugar water.
Yeah.
We have to talk about this. I believe this is Will Smith's first rapping a song about the movie that he was just in.
Oh, it was, yeah.
Right.
And we can't forget about that. I mean, that was a whole era. I mean, it's not my favorite Will Smith rap from a movie.
Your favorite is Wild Wild West, right?
I mean, I'm not going to admit that, but yes. But also, I mean, and I will say this may be controversial. While the second movie, not great. Nod Your Head is way better than Men in Black.
Gotta disagree. Keeping on the sci-fi track, we got Starship Troopers at number 6. It's a satirical look at war, but also it features Bugs and Neil Patrick Harris in like his first non-Doogie Howser role in like forever. If you didn't know, if you watched this as a kid like I did when I first watched it, I was like,
yeah, same.
This is just a cool war movie about killing bugs. But then you go back and you read about the history.
It's the whole point.
I'm sure if anyone watching it, like, this is like weird and cheesy, it's just actiony, but it has like, it's so like, when you really look at it and you think about it, it's like, yeah, it has like this crazy like satirical message, and it's just bonkers to me. That movie that I thought was just like like you said, just about killing bugs is so much more.
Speaking of sci-fi movies, we got another one for you. Face Off. And we've talked about this movie before as one of the best, greatest bad movies ever. Nick Cage, John Travolta, two of the cheesiest, hammiest actors that have ever existed in the same movie, directed by John Woo.
While Con Air is incredible, Face Off, it's just like, it is so over the top and dumb and fun. And it's a movie that if I try to tell someone, you gotta watch this thing, they don't believe me.
Staying on the sci-fi theme, we have The Fifth Element. This was back when Bruce Willis still cared about making good movies. We have Chris Tucker as Ruby Road, who is basically a social media influencer way before it ever even existed as a thing.
He would be a TikToker. Like that
Yeah.
would be, is that what they're called, TikTokers?
Yeah, and he would be the most popular one by far.
Oh yeah.
The artwork's great, the action's great.
Yeah.
The plot is just like such a non-plot for an action movie that you're just like,
Right.
what? How? Luke Perry shows up in this thing?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And it's thinking about this time when I like growing up this year, that's like what I go to. Fifth Element, not understanding any of it, only remembering the Ruby Rose scenes.
We have my number one, Boogie Nights, directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. Definitely was not ready as a child to watch Boogie Nights, but it blew my socks off. Well, that's not the phrase you want to use for this movie. It was just such a revolutionary watch for me as a kid. I was 12 years old or whatever, however old I was. And Mark Wahlberg, John C. Reilly, Thomas Jane again.
1997 was a year of like just stacked casts. It was,
Yeah.
But this one especially, like William H. Macy, like Burt Reynolds, man, like.
And then was this was the movie that everyone's like, oh, Paul Thomas Anderson, dude, he's coming up.
Yeah, this was like his second. Well, it's like his second one, but I mean the one that this was his first one. I mean, like, this is the one that everyone talks about.
If you don't know what we're talking about, it's a porn movie, but it's about like the behind the scenes of the porn movie industry. And it's like late 70s, early 80s type vibe. And it's just like so balls to the wall, insane, but at the same time, so surreal and so like just what exactly that time frame was like. It's one of the movies that I saw and I was like, oh, I want to make movies. So
Not those kind of movies.
not those kind of movies, no. Number 2, we have Jackie Brown, Quentin Tarantino doing one of his movies where he didn't write it originally. He did write the screenplay, but it's not based off his own brain.
He made Pulp Fiction, won the Oscar, and then comes out with this, which is like so tame and like it's arguably his best movie. I don't think it is, but I know a lot of people think it is. It's so like it's a drama. Like it's not Tarantino going crazy. It brought back Pam Grier. It has Robert De Niro. It has Samuel L. Jackson in arguably one of his best roles, and then Chris Tucker for 5 minutes. It's just Tarantino, but like calm.
This movie is so underrated as a Tarantino movie, and even by me. I love Tarantino, and this is definitely the one I've seen the least. It's definitely the one I think about the least. But I wonder, like, I wish that it wasn't like that, and that's on me too, But it's like, it is different. Like, it doesn't It feels like Tarantino, but it doesn't feel like Tarantino. And it's like this is a terrible comparison. But you know when like Adam Sandler does like a Punch Drunk Love, and you're like, wow, that is like really interesting. But people are also like, go back to Happy Gilmore. You know, it's like it just feels it's like it's Tarantino. I think he did this, and then the reaction wasn't what it should have been, and then now he's like, I'm just gonna cut people's legs off.
And number one, we have Good Will Hunting.
I like them apples. I can't do it.
How do you like them? Those good old Massachusetts Boston boys, Ben Affleck and Matt
Boston
Damon.
boys for life.
Who wrote this movie, and that blows my mind every time I think about it.
And it's one of the first major movies that was like, okay, it's okay for men to have emotions, because that's basically the plot of the movie. It's like telling Will Hunting, he's like, you can cry. It's okay to accept your feelings as a man and know that you can cry and be with other men and have emotions and do all that stuff. And Robin Williams, therapist dude, is like the best therapist I've ever seen in any movie. And Gus Van Sant, you know, he followed this up with a shot-for-shot remake of Psycho, but still, Gus Van Sant is like one of the best indie movie makers ever. And to do something like this, just catapulted the whole cast.
That scene with Ben Affleck where he's talking about, he does a speech where, you know, I show up every day hoping that you're not going to be here. I mean, that gets to me every time. That like, it's okay to feel, and also to show your friends, like, you know, it's okay. Like, it's just like such a deeper level of friendship to me. I'm thinking about it now. I'm like, I'm getting now like still emotional thinking about those moments, and that just means like that's how great it is. That like, I mean, almost 25 years later, and I'm like, a baby over it. So I think these videos sometimes divulge into us just naming a cast.
Yeah, naming the cast,
which is my favorite part, because we're all struggling to be like, what should we say about this? And we're like, Don Cheadle's in it, Mark Wahlberg's in it.
Well, that's our 1997 list. As you can see, we know a lot about movies, but also Zach is the worst at explaining movies. So I think that's great. That's.
I can't wait till we've done all 10 of these, and we can just go through and watch Zach pitch a movie that is a fine movie, but arguing why it should be the best and really just crapping on the movie the whole time. I'm excited. I'm also excited to venture into the year of 1998 and just get extreme, like face melting, extreme Nickelodeon slime in your face, nuts, bonkers. I'm ready.
I have no idea what came out in '98 other than Saving Private Ryan.
Can't wait to hear you butcher that one too.
Yep.
Un esercito di prodi